Welcome everybody to the first video in the series for this Konica Minolta Honda project. First of all, have to begin with a bit of history. This bike you see here comes from the 2005 MotoGP era. It was sponsored by Konica Minolta and they ran it from 2005 to 2007. Following that, Honda released a special edition CBR600 Konica Minolta. Here it is. And as you can see, it's quite an attractive model and is the inspiration for this project. So, what is the donor machine? The donor machine is a CBR250RR from the late 80s. Now these bikes were only produced in Japan. They produced a 250 and 400cc versions, and so did all of the Japanese manufacturers. These bikes were very unusual because they were high specification, high performance bikes in a very small package. The reason for that is that in Japan, large bikes were banned. You couldn't have a motorcycle over 400cc. So the manufacturers made these special small sports bikes. How special are they? Well, these two models you see here have gear-driven camshafts. No bike has gear-driven, no Japanese sports bike has gear-driven camshafts. Not possible. Too expensive. There's been a few models that have had it. And in World Superbikes, Aprilia introduced a gear-driven cams on their WSBK machine. It was banned. So that's how special it is. So that is the basis for this project. The 250 4-cylinder gear-driven cam CBR250RR. Now, originally, that bike, or the bike I'm using, looked like this. About 30 years ago, the one that I found in Thailand looked like this. And doesn't look so good, does it? Well, it's 30 years old. What do you expect? Anyway, moving on. What is the goal? What do we envisage this thing's going to look like? And so I had an artist, a professional artist, do a rendition so I could plan what I was going to do with this bike. And here it is. As you can see, quite a lot of difference. Also, some of these changes are going to be very difficult to achieve, to fabricate and so on, particularly the exhaust and the rear subframe and the seat, because the original seat on these models, particularly in this era, it was the fashion to have very narrow seats, like a bicycle, not very comfortable. So I want to do away with that. I want to change that, and that's going to take a lot of work. Now, I'm not a big fan of full fairings because I like to see the engine. So I had the artist do a half fairing version, and here it is. I'll probably go with that. Anyway, without further ado, let's move on to the first part in this process, which is stripping the bike. And we're not going to do it because it's already done. Sorry about that. So we'll go straight to the frame. First things first, we need a stand. And so I made this one. It telescopes vertically, it swivels left and right, it swivels forward and back, and you can adjust the mount to change the center of gravity. It all seems very elaborate, and you might think, what do you need that for? Well, this kind of project requires that you fabricate a lot of parts. A lot of modification has to be done. You can't buy these things. So for everything that you want to make or modify, you need to know where you are in 3D space. So the plan is to use a laser for that. So allow me to demonstrate. Here we have a cheap laser mounted onto a tripod. Okay, so this is a single line laser, but you can rotate it 90 degrees. So it'll work for what we want to do. The first thing we need to do is set a horizontal through the frame. And that axis we can use the swing arm pivot. So I've put the swing arm pivot bolt here. We just need to adjust the laser and the frame in the stand to get it centered on this bolt. Okay, you can see it's at a bit of an angle. Now, I can adjust the frame stand if I want to keep the spirit line, keep the laser line level, but it doesn't matter. It's only the relationship of the crosshair to the frame. So I can adjust the laser to the swing arm center line, or I can adjust it using my swivel mount, either one, depending on what you want to do. So next part, the other axis. So this is the center line on the vertical plane. Okay, so I've previously made this here and marked center on it, and we'll use the center line of the steering head. And there we go. So we've picked up this center mark here, and we're coming through the center line of the steering head. So now we have both axes. Good. So why is this so important? As I said before, we've got all these issues to deal with. Let me give you an example. These foot peg mounts here, one of these is a Chinese one, this left one, and the right one is the original Honda part, which is bent. The original Honda left one was also bent. In any case, I need to have a clearance here between the foot peg mount and the swing arm to fit the under seat exhaust. So I have to be able to find center and make new brackets for the foot pegs to clear the exhaust system. If I can't, then I have to scallop out the swing arm and fabricate the swing arm to suit. To which my Aussie friend said, "You can't do that." And I said, "Yes, you can. You just need an ice cream scoop and it's done. Too easy." Okay, so onwards and upwards. There's a lot to do on this project and we better get started.